For thousands of years, Inuit women have given birth in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. Remote Arctic lands, miles away from hospitals, doctors, or even basic medical supplies. But despite these challenges, childbirth was and still is a sacred, natural part of life in Inuit culture, handled with strength, community, and deep traditional knowledge. Traditionally, Inuit births happened at home or in small community camps, surrounded by family and elder women who acted as midwives. These women weren't formally trained in medicine, but they had knowledge passed down through generations. They knew how to recognize signs of labor, how to position the mother, and how to assist the baby into the world safely. There were no sterile beds, no high-tech machines. Instead, women gave birth on caribou hides or thick layers of moss, which absorbed fluids and provided warmth. The mother would often kneel, squat, or lie down depending on her comfort and the guidance of the midwives. In some cases, ropes or straps were tied overhead for the mother to hold onto during contractions. Midwives used their hands, their instincts, and a strong connection with the mother. They relied on natural tools, warm water, seal oil for massages, and herbs to ease pain. They understood the importance of silence, calm, and emotional support during birth. After delivery, the placenta was buried in a special place, often with rituals and prayers. Newborns were wrapped tightly in soft fur for warmth, and the community celebrated the new life. There was no rush, no panic, just patience, strength, and tradition. Even today, while many Inuit women choose to travel to hospitals for childbirth, especially for safety, some still prefer the traditional way. It's not just about birth. It's about identity, culture, and respect for ancestral knowledge. This is how Inuit women gave birth, not with machines or doctors, but with courage, wisdom, and the support of their community. Diving deeper into cultural meanings, challenges, and how traditions are being preserved today. This traditional way of giving birth was more than a method. It was a reflection of Inuit values. In their culture, childbirth was not seen as a medical emergency, but as a natural event that women were deeply capable of handling. It symbolized the strength of the mother, the wisdom of the elders, and the unity of the community. However, things began to change in the 20th century. As colonization spread and governments began enforcing modern healthcare systems in the Arctic, Inuit women were gradually moved away from their homeland to give birth in southern hospitals. Many were flown out weeks before their due dates, forced to leave behind their families, support systems, and traditions. In some cases, they gave birth in complete isolation, surrounded by strangers, and speaking a different language. This shift not only disrupted their cultural practices, but also affected their emotional well-being. Many Inuit women reported feeling scared, alone, and disconnected during hospital births, an experience completely opposite to their community-based birthing traditions. In recent years, there has been a powerful movement among Inuit communities to reclaim and revive traditional birthing practices. Midwifery training programs have been established in the north, combining ancient Inuit knowledge with modern safety practices. The goal is simple: bring birth back home. These programs empower Inuit women to become midwives within their communities so they can care for their own people in a way that honors their heritage. Birth centers run by and for Indigenous people are starting to emerge in some areas, offering a space where culture, language, and tradition are respected. This revival is more than just healthcare. It's about healing. It's about allowing Inuit women to give birth with dignity on their own land, or guided by the same wisdom that brought life into the world for centuries. Today, while not all births can happen the traditional way due to medical risks, the effort to return to community-led childbirth is growing. It's a story of resilience, of holding on to ancestral knowledge, and of recognizing that sometimes the old ways carry more wisdom than we realize. Because for the Inuit, birth isn't just the beginning of life. It's a connection to the land, the ancestors, and the strength of the people. Inuit childbirth traditions aren't just rooted in physical practice. They're deeply spiritual. Many elders believe that birth is a sacred journey where the soul enters the world. The environment in which a baby is born, the words spoken, the songs sung, and even the thoughts of those present are believed to influence the child's spirit and future. Names, for example, carry deep meaning. In Inuit tradition, a newborn is often named after a deceased relative or community member believed to carry part of their spirit into the next generation. This connection brings the child into a web of relationships before they even open their eyes. Birth, in this sense, is not just a beginning, it is a continuation. But the path forward hasn't been easy. Today, many Inuit communities still face significant challenges: lack of local birthing facilities, limited access to trained Inuit midwives, and lingering effects of policies that forced women to travel south for childbirth. For some families, the fear of complications or lack of resources makes hospital births seem like the only safe option, and that's where the conversation shifts. From tradition versus modernity to choice, the movement to revive traditional Inuit birth isn't about rejecting hospitals or modern medicine. It's about restoring the right to choose, to bring birth closer to home, to include elders and community, to use a blend of old and new knowledge. It's about giving women the power to decide how they bring life into the world. There's a growing recognition, even among healthcare institutions, of the importance of cultural safety in childbirth. Studies show that when Indigenous women feel respected, listened to, and supported during birth, health outcomes improve, not just for the mother, but for the child as well. Organizations and Indigenous leaders are working hard to bring midwifery programs into high schools, create birthing centers staffed by Inuit women, and preserve oral histories about childbirth traditions before they're lost. And most importantly, young Inuit women are rising, learning from their elders, training as midwives, and reclaiming the power that has always been theirs. So, when we talk about how Inuit women gave birth without doctors or hospitals, we're not just talking about history. We're talking about survival, about knowledge passed hand to hand, womb to womb, about a culture that still remembers how to bring life into the world with care, courage, and community. Because even in the coldest places on earth, there has always been warmth where life begins. And yet, despite centuries of resilience, the wisdom of Inuit birthing is still at risk of being forgotten. As elders pass away, they take with them stories and skills that were never written down, only lived and shared by word of mouth. Some of the last traditional midwives carry decades of knowledge in their memories, knowing which herbs to use to ease labor pains, how to recognize a breech baby without an ultrasound, or how to calm a frightened mother with a simple chant that's been sung for generations. This is why storytelling matters. Every time an Inuit woman tells her birth story, every time an elder shares how she helped deliver a baby in a snowstorm or in a small tent by the sea, she's preserving a part of her people's identity. It is living history. And it reminds us that even without sterile rooms, epidurals, or machines that beep, birth is still birth, powerful, natural, sacred. For those who have never witnessed it, it's easy to romanticize or underestimate it. But the truth is, giving birth in such conditions takes extraordinary courage. Imagine the silence of a snow-covered landscape, the nearest doctor hundreds of kilometers away, and yet within that isolation, a woman brings forth life with only her strength, the whispers of her ancestors, and the steady hands of another woman who's done it many times before. That's not just survival. That's something close to divine. Today, as we look back on these traditional practices, we are not merely admiring the past. We are acknowledging the dignity of a people who adapted to the harshest conditions and still protected the most fragile moments of human existence. Birth. We are learning that traditional knowledge and modern medicine don't have to be enemies. They can coexist. They can collaborate. Because a woman should have the right to choose whether she gives birth on a hospital bed, in a community birthing center, or surrounded by her elders on the land her people have walked for thousands of years. The story of Inuit childbirth is still being written, not just in textbooks or studies, but in the cries of newborns, in the strength of their mothers, and in the quiet, steady work of those who carry tradition forward. And as long as Inuit women continue to give birth, with or without doctors, they will continue to prove one truth: life will always find a way, especially when guided by you. For many Inuit women, reclaiming traditional childbirth is not just about how a baby enters the world, it's about how they see themselves. For too long, Indigenous women around the world have been told that their ways are outdated, unsafe, or primitive. Colonial systems stripped them of autonomy, not just in childbirth, but in identity, parenting, and medicine. They were told to forget their songs, their language, and even their ceremonies. But in every revived birthing tradition, there's a quiet revolution taking place. It's a return to trust. Trust in the body, trust in the wisdom of grandmothers, trust in the land that gave birth to the people in the first place. In some communities, young women are now learning from elders how to prepare birthing spaces with intention. They learn the importance of keeping the room warm, not just in temperature, but in spirit. Elders teach them the meaning behind certain songs sung